Hey guys, what's going on? Garfighter here. I have been asked to do this a bunch of times, and I've always been willing to help out people when it comes to their CFX configuration, adding fonts, and what have you. Um, this is going to be a video on how to add fonts to your CFX soundboard, as well as some of the parameters that I like to mess with. I apologize for the screen. This is the best I could do. I hooked up my camera and tried to do it on a big screen, but anytime you're filming a screen, it's kind of grainy. So I figured I would just go with this, and we'll see how this goes. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, anyways. So first of all, what you're going to want to do is your SD card. I do all of my fonts and messing with this computer, this laptop, and I have SD cards, backup drives, all this stuff for all these different fonts because I have a ton of fonts. So I've got a folder here for, let's just look at this one real quick. This is The Bane by Lord Blocko. I did a video of it not too long ago. And when you open up these folders, you're going to see everything in it as far as the audio files. These .wav files, every one of them is labeled as something, it does something, right? And your board just reads what to do when those are activated. And one of the things I always suggest to everyone is go through them, listen to them, click every one of them, check out all the different things it has to offer. Even if your board doesn't use the feature, it's still really fun to go through and click on these. So, like, obviously you got swings. That's pretty straightforward. The swings are going to be your accent swings. So that's an accent swing. There's an accent swing. They're all slightly different. Yeah, start lock. That's when the blade hits and then locks up. It's a really cool little feature. And again, this is CFX, you guys. You got stabs, spins. And again, click all these and check them out. So they're pretty much all these are going to be in your font when you purchase it. Your power on, your main power on. That's when the orientation is straight up. Power on 2 is when the board is here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 4 sound fonts you can choose from. Here's the second one, third one, fourth one, and then you have an additional 5th one you can interchange if you wanted to, which is cool. Your L swing and your H swings, those are your smooth swings. Those are what, when you click them, they're going to sound ridiculous. This is what smooth swing sounds. That's what it sounds like without the board making it go in different directions. Now, and your hum. Hum M1 right here. There's your hum. That's how it's labeled in here in the CFX fonts. Legacy style fonts, you would just have it as hum. And your force waves are fun. Depending on which CFX firmware version you have, it'll play all of these if labeled correctly. So you got force wave, force 2.wave, force 3.wave. They all do something differently. Force lightning, all that stuff. Now your font wave, that's going to be the one that you hear when you access the main sound fonts on the board.
The Bane.
So that pops up, and then you got your boots. Just one boot on this one. One boot. That's your boot wave. That's when you select the font. You got tracks in your track folder. Very straightforward. Alternative, Sith boot, different boot ups. So that's why you got to look in all these folders. There's an alternate folder, and it has a bunch of bonus stuff.
Peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength.
So you can take all, you can essentially highlight, copy all these, right? Go back and you can paste them in here and replace that one, and you've got all 5 different of those boot ups. You got your blasters, color wave, all this stuff. It's all in there. So the tracks folder, real quick, since we're there, in order to get your tracks folders to play, you have to make a tracks folder in the font, and then you have to label it tracks, right? Then you're going to have to go in and you're going to have to rename everything in order. So say you have a bunch of say you have Throne Room, and then you have Sarlacc Pit, and then you have Binary Sunset, and then you have, so on and so on. You're going to have to rename them track 1.wave, track 2.wave, track 3.wave, and so on. And what that does is that tells the board, this is a track, this is a track, this is a track, because it's not going to register if it says Binary Sunset, dot 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. You want it to say track 1, track 1.wave. Very simple. All right, so that's the font in of itself. So now that we have the font, you're going to want to go over and open up. Oh, well, this is my library. Okay. I got a ton of stuff. in here, you guys. Let's see. So yeah, here's all my beautiful fonts, which I love very much. Let's go ahead and look at the, let's go ahead and add a sound font. Okay, so I got my micro SD card out of my lightsaber. I'm going to put it in my micro SD card in the computer. Yeah, there's always a problem with this. Anyways, so I'm going to pull up my file explorer, and this is the computer. I just love using this one. It's going to look different if you're using like a Mac or any of those computers. It's just how they set them up. I've gotten really used to reading it through here. So you come in here, and this is your main CFX. This is what your soundboard, this is all that I have on the soundboard. I'm going to go ahead and click it. All the sound fonts I have in there now. It's a ridiculous amount because I've been testing a lot of sound fonts on this. This is all Jesse from Kyberphonic Fonts. You'll notice a lot of his old nights. Your CFX will not work if you have not labeled everything correctly. I always use all caps. I basically copy what a stock CFX what a stock folder looks like, and I just try to copy that, because if you mislabel these, your CFX is not going to work right. You put the SD card in, pull the kill key, put a battery in, what have you, and it will just have the SMD red. The light will just stay red, and you're like, oh no, I broke it. You mislabeled something somewhere in here. So I always keep it, if it's 2 words, I put the little, underscore, or the little, what is that? What is that called? That little guy right there. So if it's 2 words, I separate it with the with that. But you want to have 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way down. If you're doing 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 by accident, I've done it. It happens. Just double check. But that will keep your board from reading. And now your main guy. Well, first of all, you got your color text, which is where you make your colors. The CFX already has a bunch of colors. I don't mess with them because, it's not that big a deal for me. If you want to dial in your colors better, go for it. But this is basically your RGB. This right here, I like to switch to where all of them hit, so the lockup isn't just switching over to one color and then back. With M color, all ones, I find that it's hitting it's flashing between all the colors, so that it's just dramatic, which I tend to enjoy. So that's about all I do from there. And then if you make any changes in it, like you change this one to a 0 right here, you're gonna want to close out. Do you want to save? Yes. If you don't save, obviously you don't save that. Save. And then I always go back and double check. Oh, it did save. Cool. All right, great. We're good to go. But honestly, I prefer it this way. I just want to give you guys an example. Swap. And it's very easy to make your own colors. Like I said, you got your RGB function. So this right here is red, blue, green, and then this one right here, I forget what that is. I mean, all these used to only have the 3 values for your lights. So that's all I ever mess with. RGB, first 2. So this is a red. Let's see, RG. This is like a red and green mix, so it's probably like a little bit of an amber. All these different colors, and then 1023 is the max it'll go. That's your maximum color output. Anyways, let's get off topic here. Okay, and then you got your config. This is your overall configuration, which a lot of people get confused. So this, and don't be scared by it. It's more intimidating than it really is. I've got some already in there, some blade files, blade profiles already in there. So, but in a stock setting, you're gonna have everything up here, right? And you guys be sure to pull up the CFX manual. It will tell you all these things, what they do. Like for the longest time, I never knew what quick ignite was. I love quick ignite. It wakes the board up, goes right into it, skips over the boot sound. So you basically go, like this saber right here has been in deep sleep. I think I have quick ignite set. Yeah, it just jumped right into it. So it just woke up from deep sleep. Maybe a half a second, or not a half a second, just a little delay to wake the board up on the first ignition, but it just jumps right up. You get your deep sleep. I usually turn them down if there's Smuggler's Outpost speakers. Those things are gnarly. I turn the menu volume down. I mean, this is where you customize stuff. This is where it's like, okay, I want the beeps to be quiet, more quiet. I want a deep sleep function. You got to set it to 1. Stuff like that. And then most of this stuff I don't really mess with. You got your LED strips where you got to change your number of, depending on how many LEDs you got in there. The gate, I do kind of mess with it. So your motion sensing, so your motions are going to be between your gate and your smooth gate. Now this number might be a little weird. I think I kind of mess with it more than I normally do. Usually I just drop them about 5. They come stock at 50 and 50. So your gate is going to be for your accent swings, and your smooth gate is going to be for your smooth swing. Again, like I said, this might be even more a little more dramatic than I usually use. Normally I do 50, and this is like 45 or something like that. And then you got H temp. I will bump up. This is if any of you have ever had your board say temperature past critical or whatever, and you have like a little heart attack. That just means the board is warming up, which is natural. Boards tend to warm up, sometimes with the speaker, depending on what you're running, it can get warm. But Irv says it's not dangerous unless it's extremely hot to the touch. So what I do is I bump that up just a little bit. I think it comes at like 40. I put it at 50, just so you don't get that warning whenever the board gets a little warm. Spectrum mode, I like to put 1 and 1. That makes it to where you press the auxiliary and twist, and that puts you in spectrum. And you press and twist for all of them, blade profiles and everything. Now you have your first profile. You're going to have this one is going to be your main profile. This is going to be your POI. I don't have the names for them. Okay, POI. So on the newer CFX firmware updates, I've realized that you got to swap that bad boy over to 1, or there's a delay in the power on and swing. I don't really mess with a lot of this stuff. Sometimes I'll mess with the flicker and whatnot. But my pulse, a lot of people ask me about my pulse settings. The way my sabers pulse. You got your blade and it kind of, that's going to be between these numbers right here. You got pulse D equals 65 and pulse L is 100. I usually always keep pulse L at 100. And then pulse D, I usually have 65 for a faster pulse and 45 for a slower pulse. Those are just what I tend to like. That's my own little setting. Now, to get different power on effects, like I like the flash on, the white flash on ignition. That's going to be style PON right here. This guy right here, style PON. And again, go to the manual, the CFX manual, and you're going to see a section that tells you all the different power-ons. I like setting 5. I think 4 or 5 is usually the fun ones for me. But they have a list of like 10, I believe, and it'll tell you if you switch this number to 4, the blade does this. If you switch this number to 3, the blade's going to do this when it ignites, and so on and so on. And the same with style off. I like P off. I like P off. I like it to be at 6, and what it does is it has like a little tailing effect, so the blade kind of folds in. It looks really cool in person. My blasters, I have them at 6. A lot of people are always like, hey man, what's your blaster style? Go to style blaster. Style blaster. Change it to the one you like. It's the same thing. Localized lockup. Style lockup 2. Style lockup 2 puts you in a localized lockup. And that's in the middle of the blade will be locking up instead of legacy where it's the entire blade. So that's entirely up to you. Then of course you got all this other stuff. POS lockup, size lockup. I usually put them about the same. I like kind of a more medium in the middle of the blade. 70/70 is kind of work for me. Again, play with it. See what you like. If you have rice, it's easier to see. I just kind of dial it in and go, that works for me. So that's going to be my main profile. This is what tells the board, what the blade is doing and what the motion is and all that stuff. So this is the first profile that I made. I think this has a flame blade in it or something. Oh my goodness, are you serious right now? So, yeah, this is my first. I believe it's an unstable. I don't know. I can see probably if I look at unstable. Yeah, unstable mapping. Lockout. Yeah, unstable one. So this is one of my unstable settings. So you'll see profile 1. See how it's in brackets? Profile equals 1, brackets. So for the longest time I didn't know, and then this is my second profile. So when you enter blade profiles, these are the ones you're switching between. And they are different. So they have different settings to make the blade do different things. So, see, there's not even a pulse on that one. And then I got third one. You can have up to like 16, I believe, or more. I haven't really pushed it because I don't really care much for a lot of blade profiles. So right here you'll see profile 4, profile 5. See how there's a space between everything, but there's these 2 hashtag marks or whatever you want to call them. If I were to take CFX blade styles, come on man, where's my blade styles? All right, if I were to take one of these that was made, these are custom, and click and open it up. There's profile X, there's all this stuff. This is what makes an unstable blade. Now I would take and highlight all of this. Really simple, guys. I'll highlight all this. And again, this is how I do it. Everyone can be different. And I copy. Now that's copy. I go ahead and close that. Go ahead and close that. And I go right in here. I'm going to make a 4th blade profile. So I'm going to click in here. And I'm going to paste what I just copied. And then look at that. There we go. 4th blade profile, right? I'm going to go all the way down and see how it's right there. I'm going to give it a space so it doesn't confuse the board at all. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in order to let the board know there is a 4th profile now, I'm going to delete. Now the board will read that blade profile. So as of right now, there's only 4 blade profiles. When you're looking at this thing, right, these 2 right here, these 2 hash marks basically say ignore this. When you get rid of them, these 2 hashtags or whatever they're called, pound signs. For you 90s kids, the pound signs. It'll say read this board. So I don't want that blade profile because I've already got one. So I'm gonna make sure you save Make sure you save. And then when you save, I'm not saving because I already have that blade profile. But then when you save it, you want to go back in and make sure it's stuck, right? See, I didn't save, so there we go. It's not there. Pretty simple. That's your basic configuration. So now what I'm going to do, a lot of people don't know this or have asked, again, depending on which blade profile or depending on which firmware you have for CFX, let's open up a file. Got an extras folder, which is really cool. Again, extras folders, open them up. I got music, quotes, the remote wave, which is cool. In the video, I did a review. I didn't realize that it was Jesse has it activated to the second force wave, so when you force and clash a saber, it'll do those remote noises, his droid, and I was like, oh, I totally missed that. Anyways, you got your blasters, everything looks good. You want to look in the font and make sure you have everything, and eventually you'll learn what is needed specifically. Now, for those of you, this happens a lot, I see it a lot, especially questions asked on CFX pages and stuff, Facebook groups. When you boot up your saber and you select a font, you hear a really loud beep right before you choose it, and then it'll say the track. That's because you're missing two very important files in the font. Now, each sound font has its own specific font config text. This guy right here. Very important to have this. This tells the saber what the font does. Now you have an overall config file, but each font folder should have a font config.txt. Now this is where your QON, your power on setting is. I set it to 150 for most of my blade ignitions. For a really fast ignition, I set it to 100. If this number is at 0, the Q on is at 0, your blade is going to ignite very slowly. It's just the standard setting. You can adjust this. People adjust it in the hundreds, thousands, or whatever. It's in milliseconds or whatnot. I just find that this is what I tend to like. 100 to 150 in that area has just been my sweet spot. Again, somebody might be in the comments or somebody might say something, like, oh, that's way wrong, blah, blah, blah. Dude, it feels right to me. I enjoy it. That's where I keep it. You do your own thing, man. This is just what I do. And the Q off is the retraction, the blade retraction. I'd never mess with that. Just leave it. It is pretty spot on as is, because the CFX will register the power on timing and power off timing to match. When you do the Q on, you're just making the light faster. And then a lot of people don't know this. I see a lot of it. You want accent swings? You want your board to have smooth swing and accent swings? You need to switch smooth mode equals 0 or equals 1, I think is what it comes at. Stop to smooth mode equals 2. You want it to equal 2. What that does is that tells the board to read these smooth swings, H swing and L swing, high swing, low swing, I believe, and all of these, and all of these swings. So whenever you're swinging your smooth swing around and then you swing extra hard, that gate that we were looking at earlier, that'll activate this dude. You want that. Trust me, you want that. All right. And then also one more thing. Whenever you're playing with the blade, affects the bolt timings. Sometimes when you look at this bolt equals 0, I did that. I swapped all of those to 0. And when you open up your font, sometimes it'll have like 1, 2, 3, comma, 4, 5, comma, 23. And what that's doing is that's telling the blade to hit bolts randomly on certain areas. The timing might not match up. So what I do is I put them all at 0, so it will definitely, as soon as the blaster hits, boom, the blade AccuBolt will hit too. So that's all I do in these in here. I don't touch any of the smooth swing parameters, any of that stuff. I go into font config text. I play with however fast I want the power on to be. I switch smooth mode to 2, and I change all those blaster bolts to 0. That's just what I do. Then, very, very important, this is still gonna, you guys still need this one too, and this will keep your board from sounding awful when you boot it up. LED text. I don't touch anything in it unless you have accent LEDs and you want to stylize them, make them blink a certain way, like bloop, 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 all that crap. And even then, I don't even mess with it. I just like to let them randomly blink. But you still need this guy in your font folder. So there you go. And you'll look through all these. And again, click them, see what they do. If you want to change them, just rename them to how they are, and you're good to go. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you, sorry, this is a long video. I'll try to break it up for you somewhat. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the font. Now that we know what we're doing, what we're looking for, what we're familiar with the fonts and all that stuff, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit new folder. New folder. And what number are we on? 42. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 42 dash or hyphen or whatever. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to get your font. And I have a ton of fonts. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is I've already got one right here. Sequel Villain by FX, which is a Kylo font. This one, you're going to want to, with a lot of these sound font makers, sometimes they supply the font with a bunch of different optimized soundboard options, like your Golden Harvest V3, Profi, what have you. The CFX, again, guys. So I'm going to click the CFX. I got extras and Sequel Villain font, and everything in here. You got swings, power on, all that stuff. And I'm going to highlight it, all of it in the font, copy, and then I'm going to go back to the SD card. This is back to our CFX. This is the main CFX to the lightsaber, and I'm going to go to, 43. Should have been 43. See what happens when you make it two of the same one. This is going to mess it up. This is what I was talking about, guys. It's very easy to do. So let's go ahead and do this correctly so the board will read it. 43 space, all caps. It's just what I like to do for these soundboards. Sequel, boom, VILLIAN. I don't think I spelled villain right. Did I spell villain right? So now it's all there. 41, 42, 43. Let's see how it's out of order. What you can do is you can go back. Now let's go back to our CFX, main CFX. Open it up. And it reorganized it. So now 43 is where it should be. So now we're going to open up 43 and it is empty. And now we are going to fill it with stuff. Paste. And it's going to take a second because my computer is probably on its last leg. This thing's been downloading fonts and files for props for years. Now we have the Sequel Villain font in the folder. And I'm going to check that I did it right, that I didn't copy something else. What's my boot? Oh, whoops, sorry, let me turn on the speaker. So I'm going to check to see what the font is.
You know I can take whatever I want.
That's a Kylo quote for sure. You can go over to font.wave. That's going to tell me what the font is.
You're still holding on! Let go!
So that's the boot that we have for the font, and you can change these any wave, any quote, any song, anything you want to. You can make your font wave. You just have to take the thing, take it. Like, okay. Also, we need to. I'm gonna give you an example. I'm gonna show you what's going on here. Back to SQL Villain. I want this extras folder. I'm going to copy the entire extras folder. Now I'm going to go back up to my CFX folder, SQL Villain. Boom. I'm going to paste the extras folder. Boom. Extras folder. What's in here? Look at that. Prions. I tried to help somebody not long ago who was like, "What are the little noises before the ignition?" And I was like, "It's a prion." And he was like, "No." I was like, "Yeah, it's a prion." And then Jesse Kyberphonic was like, "Yeah, man, that's a prion." And the guy was like, "Oh, thank you so much, man. I'm so glad to hear it from you." And blah blah. And I was like, "Yeah, dude. You know, I'm just chopped liver, I guess. I'm not Kyberphonic." No, if you're watching this, buddy, no, it's all good. It's funny. I was just making fun of myself. Prion. It's going to be a little noise or a quote or whatever before your activation.
Let it all die.
So in this case, it's a bunch of quotes. Sometimes it'll be noises. So you can take this prion. I'm going to copy it, right? Go back, and we're switching the. We're going to take that quote because we like that quote, and we're going to make it our font wave. So this is what the font wave is now.
You're still holding on! Let go!
I don't want that. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Delete. Make sure you have a copy of this, though. Make sure everything is saved in a folder somewhere. Backed up. You delete it and it's gone. You're screwed. Right now, if I delete this, I've got it backed up in 3 different places easily. So I'm very confident. Go ahead and get rid of that. Now I'm going to paste what we copied, which was in the extras folder, that prion. Notice it's prion.
Let it all die.
I'm going to click till we can rename it. And inside these folders, you don't want everything to be caps. You want to match everything in here. So what I want it to say is font.wave. Click off to the side. That's switched, and now that is our font wave from here on out.
Let it all die.
Sorry, my battery's dying on my speaker to play this louder for you. So now we have extras at the top because I backed out. So it kind of reorganizes everything for you, which is pretty sweet. We've got our boot sound, and what was that font font wave? We just switched it.
Let it all die.
Cool. Same thing with force waves, any of that stuff. You want to swap things, you can swap them as long as you name them correctly. Now, for your extras, if you say you wanted to have all this stuff, there's an additional lockup, there's prions, there's 4 or 5 different prions. The board will only read 4, but you have your optional whatnot. You can, I'm just going to get these ones, highlight, copy, right? Copy, go back, and I'm just going to go ahead and drop them in. Now it's going to ask me, oh, come on. Now it's going to ask me at some point, oh, I guess I didn't have to. Sometimes it'll ask you if you want to replace the files, and that's because there's duplicates of it. So if there were already prions in here, and I want the new ones in, I would drop those, and it would say, you know, are you sure? Like, actually, I think it'll do it right now. Check it out. So this is what would happen if, yes, so you drop them. If they were the same name and you just wanted, but it was a different sound, I'll go, you know what? Yeah, replace them. And it would do all that for me. Now it's going to be what I want. Pretty straightforward. Now, showing you guys some of that stuff, some of swapping out things, renaming stuff, you know, making the font what you like, because you can do tons of different things. You can do, I've got, you know, different sound bites, all this different stuff that I can throw in there if I really wanted to customize it. You just play with it. So now what I do and what I suggest everyone does with their font is they go into I save the stock font, whatever whatever firmware you have, the stock config text on that firmware I use. So all these you want to be the same. Every single one of these you want to have the same font config and the same LED text. So essentially, now all I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this one. This was the last one I did, the Bane. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to copy the font config text. I'm going to go to SQL Villain. I'm going to drop it in. Boom. Now that's in there. I'm going to go back to the Bane. And any of these have it because I've made them all the same. And I'm going to grab that LED text. I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to drop it into SQL Villain. And guess what? We are now good to go. SQL Villain is now our 43rd sound font in this folder, in this SD card. Now I'm going to close this out. And I'm going to eject my CFX. It's a good sound. I love that sound. And now I have put the SD card back in. I have pulled the kill key. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find that font. So I'm going to hold down my auxiliary.
Sound bank selection. Ray Skywalker. Vengeance.
I'm Joe Myford.
I am
Okay, my name. At heart of the mantle of Dagon downtown. Next to the Bane.
Let it all die.
Did you hear that? We changed that. We made it say let it all die. Remember, he was originally going to scream, let it all go. Hold it.
You know I can take whatever I want.
And we put those preons and everything on here, so this is going to have a bunch of bonuses.
Let it all die.
There we go, guys. Smooth swing. Accent swings have been activated.
I want you to join me.
There you go. There we are, you guys. That is a really long, in-depth kind of, well, not in-depth. That was a good overall of your CFX adding a sound font, CFX. Play with the sound fonts, guys. Look in your sound fonts. Go through them. See what's on them. See what you like. If you want to change something, you just got to rename it, man. That's all you got to do. And I love to customize my fonts. I love them to... Whoop, come on now. I love to customize my fonts. Sometimes I will make a quote. I will take these force waves. Where are we at? Where's force wave? See how you got force wave 2. There's only 2 force waves. Now, depending on your CFX firmware version, the latest one, you can have 5, 6. I don't know the limit, but that will activate whatever you're putting on there. So I like to put, if it's a Canon sound font, I put a bunch of quotes. So whenever I'm swinging it around, I'll get Kylo to say a bunch of different things just by hitting the auxiliary and swinging, and it will cycle through force 2. Force.wave, force 2.wave, force 3.wave, force 4, and so on. And then you also have a clash. Hold the clash and activate the auxiliary, and that'll do another set of force waves. So there you go, guys. I hope that helped. If you're ever quick mention, real quick, actually, the hum capital M1. If you're ever redoing, or if you're converting a Profi sound font or what have you over to CFX, that's a whole nother video and entirely. You have to rename everything to where it's the same, but your hum capital M1 dot wave. That's what you want your hum to look like. Basically, you want everything to look just like it is in a stock font. And also, I'm glad I'm here. If you switch it, if you have you have a Profi sound font that you switched over to CFX and you labeled it correctly, but when you're swinging it and you press activation, or you're swinging the saber and you turn it off, it just turns off. You don't hear a power off. That's because you need to copy the power off, post the same power off, and label the second version PWROFF2.wave. That'll tell the board to shut off in any direction. So that's very helpful. And can't really think of anything else. Power, lockup, force waves, end locks. Is there anything I'm forgetting here? Let's see. I don't know if I can really think of anything else. So yeah. You guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section. I'll try to answer if I can. Again, this is me just trying to give you guys an overall what things are and whatnot. It's just kind of a things I could think of that I see often. People ask, well, let's look at this. This is stock. This is the stock CFX. This is an old version too, but yeah, this is an older version. Yeah, you want to look through. You want to get everything. Make them the same. But that should be it. You guys let me know again if you have any questions. And I hope that helps. I hope that helps some of you feel a little better about swapping fonts and playing with your config and whatnot. So until next time, may the force be with you.